Hello YouTube, it's Lil Derek Comics back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Marvel Rivals Season 3. So we got a lot of new information today. First off, we got the trailer for Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, and Blade coming to the game. And outside of that, we got the dev talk, and that's the main thing I'm going to be going over today. A lot of the information that they revealed in this Season 3 roadmap. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. First off, let's get into some character specific stuff. Like I said earlier, we have Jean Grey and Blade confirmed for season 3 and season 3.5 respectively. And I want to say the trailer that they released for them is amazing. Like, it looks so good. It's really well animated. I like that they included both characters that are going to show up into one trailer, and I like the lore elements of it. I like everything about how they handled the trailer. And with that being said, these seasons are going to be shorter. That's right. Every season is going to last 2 months, with a character being released every month. So every half season is going to be a month, and every full season is going to total to 2 months. Now, with the release of Jean Grey, we do have some new team up abilities. So Jean Grey and Wolverine have a team up ability, and that is called the Primal Flame. So Wolverine, during his Feral Leap, he'll be able to burn enemies pretty much. So Phoenix is going to be the anchor for this team up, and it'll just kind of give Wolverine a little bit of boost of damage, and it will also do a life steal, so he'll get more health while he's attacking, if I'm not mistaken. And that's a pretty good ability. Wolverine didn't have too much in terms of like the team ups. He has like two fastball specials between Hulk and the Thing, but you don't really get to see it that often or use it that often, and you have to be not only just pretty good at, throwing with the Thing and the Hulk and just be in the right situation, but you also have to be a competent Wolverine and be able to snatch people out of the air and everything, or just be good at diving backline. So it has its uses, but I think this is a really cool team up, especially between two X-Men characters. I like it. So while we're on the topic of new team up abilities, two of our bros, our besties slash frenemies, depending on the timeline, Spider-Man and Human Torch have a new team up ability, and I think they really should have had that off rip, if you want to be honest with me. It's weird for Johnny to get the team up with Storm and then it immediately gets removed. So I like that they have this new team up. So basically, how this works is that Johnny is the anchor for this team up, and Spider Man gets a new ability by having him on the team. He gets a new tracer that tracks opponents as well as burns them. So not only can you mark them, but you can kind of get back to them and continue the combo. And it's different from his regular web tracers, so you can do all kind of combo shenanigans with it. So yeah, I think with that alone, that is going to make Spider-Man a pretty big menace this season on some J. Jonah Jameson energy. With that being said, the Human Torch no longer has his team up with Storm, but I think he's got something just as good. He'll be getting some form of boost from being the anchor, so I think he's winning there. Plus, nobody really used the Johnny team up that much, especially after the Sharknado. And Spider-Man also no longer has his old team up with Squirrel Girl. I know that was a pretty good one for me, in my opinion. That stun where you can kind of trap everybody and ensnare them with that team up ability and then throw the nuts at them and stun them again. That was a really good one, but she has something that's I would argue just about as good for this type of meta with the Flyers. She has a team up with Iron Man, and she gets this gauntlet, and it tracks the opponent with like a squirrel flying on it, and then it detonates. So I'd say that is really good for this Flyer meta. And on top of that, not only her, but the Thing also got something that is good for the Flyer meta. The Thing got a new ability where he can launch at opponents, similar to how he lunges at his teammates. And not only that, but if you time the haymaker, you can knock flyers out of the sky. I'm not gonna lie, he really needed that. He was suffering, especially with the flyers and him having no way to get to them. Even just throwing something like Wolverine literally would have helped. But that's a team up ability. Him on his own, he's not good with flyers. And I guess Squirrel Girl isn't the best without her team up either, but she still has ways to stun flyers if you can aim pretty well and just hit flyers in the sky anyway. So I think these are good additions, but the last team up we're going to talk about is Hela joining the symbiote. So you have Venom, Jeff, and Hela now, and I want to say she still has her old team up, but now she can use her E ability, and not only does she kind of pull the enemies in, but there's like the Venom tentacle thing, and it kind of holds the opponents together and slows their movement. So, all in all, I think these are all really good team up abilities, and I think they gutted the right ones. Arguably, the Squirrel Girl one was a good one, but I think this works, especially for the meta. Now let's talk about the battle pass. So the battle pass will be remaining for the most part the same. I know it's a shorter season, but you will still be able to get 10 costumes. It'll still cost the same price. And apparently, you'll be getting even more units. They've also changed the way the missions work. So there's no longer daily missions. You'll have a consistent stream of weekly missions. And they'll be available throughout the entire season, but you will have to do them in order, probably like I guess one at a time. So you can't just, do one mission over another one. It's kind of like how you have to kind of go through the battle pass. You can't just skip certain things. And starting with season 3, they will be implementing season missions, and these are a set of challenges that last all season, and they offer you a load of chrono tokens, or so they said. So that's going to be big. I like that they're giving us a lot more of these chrono tokens and stuff like that, especially once you get towards the end of the battle pass if you bought it and then you can get the units and everything. I think that's all really good. And I love that they're giving us more of this stuff. And last but not least, one interesting thing about the season pass is that you can now unlock unstable molecules through the season pass. So if you remember last season, unstable molecules were the things that you can get the alternate colors for certain costumes for. I had mixed feelings about it because, I felt like it was a new currency for no reason. You could really just use the units for it. So I didn't really see the point in it for the most part. But now that it's actually an unlockable thing, it actually makes it more useful. It gives you reason to go through the battle pass. So I think that was a really good implementation on their part. And I think that really fixed it up and, made it a little bit more unique and gave you some reason to do it. Moving on from the battle pass, we have what I think is one of the most unique and coolest implementations of this season, and that is customization. We have accessories now, so you can unlock these from quick match and comp play. So not every character has them. Only a few characters get these accessories, but they'll most likely they'll add them as the seasons go by. But they make it a little bit more unique on the character. There's little like trinkets that the characters have on them in battle. And this on top of the like unique colors you can have can really make some like unique players, right? It'll make you different from everybody else on the field, especially as we go along and there's more of them added to it. So I think that's a really awesome idea. I really love that. And speaking of the colors, we have new chroma color variants. So more characters now have alternate colors for their costumes. I think that's really cool. I always thought that this was a cool idea. I just never really liked the unstable molecules. But, now that they fixed it up for this season, I think that's really cool. I think that'll be a really exciting reason to play. And we also have ultimate V effects. So these are effects that only you can really see, the other team, and I want to say even your team won't be able to see, but you get these effects whenever you do an ultimate. They only showed the Scarlet Witch one, but it was still pretty cool. It's sometimes that's all you need is to see stuff on your screen going off. It just makes you feel better as a player. It's cool when you get to see it. So I think that that's a good idea too. It's a little lame that everybody else can't see it, but I do like that it's there. It's better than not being there. And both the chroma colors and the ultimate VFX can be unlocked with unstable molecules. So again, you can really just unlock these through playing through the battle pass, but you can also get them with units because you can, transform units to unstable molecules. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a 1-to-1 ratio. So all of this is really cool. I really love the implementation of the customization. It makes all the characters more unique. I think that is probably one of the coolest things about this, in my opinion. But with the accessories, it did look like in part of the trailer that you will have a weekly limit to how many accessory points you can get. So I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know if like, you have to kind of spend them within the week, or there's only so much you can get. Maybe it's like the weekly rewards and stuff like that. You can only do so much at a time, and there's only so much you can have. Everybody kind of gets the same amount of like chrono tokens and stuff like that. We'll have to see how it goes, but that was just something that I noticed. And the last things I want to talk about are the quality of life changes that they've announced. So, firstly, one cool thing is that you can mix and match MVP animations, quote unquote. I think this is a little misleading because I don't think you can, use a normal base skin for, say, the MVP screen. I think it's that you can choose any skin and you can use any MVP screen. So say I use the base Susan Storm skin, but I want to use the Future Foundations MVP screen. Well, I can do that, but I think she'll always be in her Future Foundations fit for the MVP screen. I don't think she'll be in her normal skin or any other skin on that MVP screen, because that seems like it would take a lot, because certain MVP screens kind of only work with the alts. So it would be very weird and very early for something like that to pop off. So don't expect it to be like you're literally mixing and matching animations and costumes at the same time. It's just that you can use any MVP screen, but you can't, have different costumes on the MVP screens outside of the main MVP screen, from what I know, at least from what I could gather. And speaking of costumes, depending on which alt you select, the background in the lobby will reflect that. So, if you're using like, you know, uh Venomized Captain America or Captain Clintar, should I say, the background will change, and same thing with all the other, yeah, with all the other skins. And they've added slash removed a couple of sections. So the serials and special edition sections are merged into one. So all of your little comics with the lore for each season and each event, they're all combined into one little comic section. So I think that's cool. I'll have to see how that looks, because there's already like what, like nine of these or something, like at least six of them, because there's like for each season. Well, technically four if you count season zero. Now that I think about it, and then you'll have like, well, what do we have, like three or four events? So that's a lot on one page. So we'll have to see how that looks. But also they've added a cinematics tab, and so this will be like where you can see like the trailers and everything, so you can kind of keep up with the lore of the game as it goes along. And I think that's cool, especially since you have the little comment section, like comic book section, where you kind of read the lore. I think it's also cool where you can see the lore play out in the animations. That's just a little bit more fun, give you something else to do when you're kind of just chilling, maybe waiting for teammates. So I think that's a cool implementation. You also have the event section, so you can kind of check out whatever events are going on within the game. On the screen, they had the Symbiote Storm event, so Storm's gonna end up getting a free skin most likely. I love the fact that they're giving out free skins every season. It makes the game that much more amazing. You never really have to buy a skin to, get some free skins. I think that's really cool. We also have Galactus Gift, which looks like it's returning, and that also means that the Chrono cards are back. And I don't particularly care about those. However, we do have the costume coin, and this was a free event. So there was a lot of cool things. And I'm not going to lie, even though I don't particularly care for the chrono cards, with the season restarting, I think that those will be useful for some players, so that you just don't get bombarded with losses. But it's also the fact that you can have those trash players that are kind of just throwing it for everybody. So I have mixed feelings about those. I might make a new video on it. But outside of that, you also, have the pickup bundle. And it seems like the recent Bubblegum Venom event isn't on there. So it seems like the three events that we'll have off rip are the Symbiote Storm, Galactus Gift returning, in the pickup bundle. So I think that's interesting. And once you get out of battle, we have a new result screen. So this shows you, different things about your character, like proficiency and, how many accessory points you have. The closer you're kind of getting to certain checkpoints on your character. And you can see battle pass stuff as well. You can see how close you are to completing the battle pass and how close you are to completing different events. So I think all of that is really cool and convenient. You don't have to like keep leaving out to check certain things. And also Discord is kind of more integrated into the game. So you can kind of text people on Discord from within the game. And you can also use Discord to communicate with your Marvel Rivals friends while you are offline. We also have some cool new college student perks. I'm a little bit jelly because I'm not in college anymore, but you get these costume trials. You might have seen something like this in maybe like Street Fighter or something like that, but you basically get to use certain characters as long as you can confirm that you are a college student. There's 10 costumes and MVP screens. I think they're pre-selected like the ones that they showed on the screen, so I don't think you get to like pick them per se. You get to like just utilize 10 different ones. But I think that's really cool and it's really nice of them to, let you play around with some of these MVP screens for and, help out the college students a little bit and give them a reason to play the game. So I think that's really cool. And the last couple things I'm going to cover before I give my thoughts is that there is going to be an offline tournament at some point, the first offline tournament for the game. And so that's interesting. I guess it'll be an in person tournament because I don't really see how you play the game offline. Yeah. And also, save your replays. We're transitioning into a new season with different team ups and stuff. So you won't be able to utilize your replays from this season in the next season. So keep that in mind. And lastly, they did reveal that there will be a new competitive mode. They didn't really talk about what it was going to be. I don't remember if they said it was going to be this season or like halfway through the season 3.5 with Blade. So, but they didn't really give much about it, so there's not much I can really cover with it. But that's exciting. Anything that any new mode is always welcome, especially a mode that's likely gonna stay. So I think that's really cool. It might be something like maybe Rogue Q or maybe something else. Maybe they utilize that Ultron battle matrix that they used last season. Maybe they have a competitive version of that. That could be cool. But either way, I'm excited to see that they have new competitive options because just the straight comp mode we have now is a little rough, and I'm actually going to get into that. So, what do I think about season 3 so far? I think it's cool. I think it's great that they're finally, gonna give us Blade, even though, he's not the first one to pop up. It's cool that we got to see him. He looked really sick in the trailer, but yeah, Jean Grey, Phoenix, she looked amazing. It's interesting that they're doing two duelists for this season. I think that's fine. I kind of expected it for some seasons just because, if they added three of each role every other, season and stuff like that, it kind of unsustainable and it kind of limits them. But I imagine there'd be more duelists than anything else anyway. That's just kind of how the game is. You kind of want duelists there to do a lot of the damage, and then the tanks and the healers kind of go around them. Not to say that they're the most important or anything like that, but yeah, I think that's interesting. Like I said, I really love the customizable options. I really wish I could see a lot more of that in just video games in general, especially like the fighting games and things like that. This is really cool. The fact I can't wait to see more of them get added and more customizable options. Like later on in the season, every team has like these different effects and things they have on the character so that no player is like the other one. I think that's really cool and I really love that. I love what they did with the unstable molecules. It was really simple, but I'm glad they didn't just have it so that you got to pay for them. I also think the fact that they're adding a separate competitive mode is really genius. They didn't replace the one we currently have, and they're not really taking away from anything. They're just kind of putting something new out, and that keeps the game fresh. I really love that. I really love that, and I can't wait to see what new modes they have, whether they be competitive or just events. I really love them all. I think the quality of life things were just really good just because it let me know that they're kind of listening to the fans. They're kind of paying attention to what everybody wants and they're giving us that. They're working towards it. I think all of that is phenomenal. Now, what are my gripes and concerns? Well, honestly, the main thing that kind of came to mind is the matchmaking. That's the only thing they really didn't touch on, and they never do it throughout the game. The matchmaking has been garbage since the game came out, pretty much. It wasn't as bad in like the earlier parts of the game's life, like season 0 and maybe early season 1, but especially as I played more and got better at the game, I really started to see the cracks, and it's just so annoying to get matched with the worst teammates. And it's like I can't even always blame them because sometimes they just have no business being in the matchmaking. And maybe I should be a lower rank than I am, maybe. But that's also just a part of it because like why am I in some of these higher ranks if I need to be in the lower ranks? Or why are these lower ranks in some of the higher ranks? It's it's bad. It is so bad. And it's so annoying. And then it's not even the fact that, oh, well, that's just how I've seen the actual casual mode, the quick play has better matchmaking. I will have a better team half the time in quick play than comp. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. And they've tried to kind of mitigate it a little bit like last season, they changed the way the point system works. And I think that was really great. You didn't lose a ton of points when you lost, especially if you did well and you got more points for doing good. It's not perfect, but it was a good start. But yeah, they didn't mention anything about that. Maybe that's what this new competitive mode is. Maybe they fixed that up, but they didn't outright say that they were going to do that, and I'm not sure if they ever will. And it's to the point where it's like, bro, you don't have to rig the matchmaking system, man. I don't know if that's what's actually happening, but the matchmaking is bad, and I really wish they'd address that and fix it up, and they just haven't yet. But that's really my only concern is the matchmaking. I want the competitive matches to be fun. I think everything else about the game is like perfect, especially as the seasons go and they fix things and add new things. The game is just so much fun. And I feel like it's not getting some of the love it deserves just because the actual meat, the comp of it is just compromised. It's not good. So hopefully they fix that. But outside of that, I think season 3 looks phenomenal. I have high hopes for it, and I hope that, they kind of bring everything together and it just feels fleshed out and fun. But I'm excited. Let me know what you think about the new season details and everything they've implemented. What are you most excited for? What are you least excited for? How do you feel about this season? But with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video, and I'm out. Peace.